Okay, so today I'm going to show you an example of how I make um, a functional knee joint or a ball jointed doll that you sculpt in Blender. I've already cut the channels for my parts in most of my doll here. So here are the upper leg and the lower leg pieces. They've already got um, a channel for the elastic to go through, which I did by adding a cylinder object and then editing it into like, I won't cover that. I'm only going to cover like a knee joint. So I personally, in object mode, I use metaballs, but you can just use a sphere if you want to. And I'm in object mode right now, and I'm scaling up in object mode. But you can also go into edit mode and scale it up, and that kind of affects the resolution. And then I can go back to object mode and scale it down. And I can scale it in edit mode instead of changing this resolution viewpoint number. Metaball options are in this tiny little orb data thing. And you can raise or lower the density, make it more or less influence. But anyway, I'm starting with my metaball sphere, and you can either add another. I like to duplicate objects, so I can probably right click and duplicate it, or object, duplicate. These light pieces. So my other knee joint that I know works is this one that I used for my Lala Ball Jointed Doll. This works fine for the doll that I made it for, but that's because it's upright quite a bit more. This is of I can't have this knee joint upright for this doll as upright anyway, so this is going to impact how I make this joint. Usually I'll just stick two spheres top bottom, smooth out the front, maybe add another sphere, and then I'll convert it to a mesh, and then I'll sculpt it, and then I'll add these little nubs just to have as a catch. And there will be like little nub holes for them to catch into on the inside of the leg. Or you can do an external kind of nub where it sticks out here and catches on the leg itself. This is like how I think Mystic Kids ball jointed dolls work. I think some Zoom dolls. It depends on which sculpt though. But usually I'll just sculpt a little knee out of some spheres, get it roughly the right size. I need to move it, obviously. Select all those, scooch them out to the inside. Those spheres could stand to be bigger. I think, not quite sure, we'll do like that. So now with my metaball selected, I'm going to convert it to a mesh. And now it's a mesh object, and it's all one piece. Now I can sculpt on it, edit it, do whatever I want to it. You have to convert it to a mesh. If you're not using metaballs and you're just using a sphere, what you will do is you'll add a sphere. I can find my mesh. And then you can exit. Well, first, if you scale anything or move it in here, this is object mode and edit mode and sculpt mode. So object mode, think of it like Dungeons and Dragons. You're moving around your piece, or like a chessboard, you're moving around your piece thinking, do I want to go 5 feet this way or 20 feet that way? you're not committing it to the turn yet. So this, as far as like edit mode and stuff is aware, this ball is still here and still this big. But because you're in object mode and you're not committing to your turn yet, you can go to object, clear, like scale. Now it's small, but still where I had it. And I can also go to object, clear, location, because I moved it. Or you can do Alt S for scale and Alt G for location, but if you can't remember keyboard shortcuts, it's under the object menu, under clear. So let's say I want my sphere to be bigger and I want it over here. I'm going to apply this before I go into edit mode or sculpt mode. I'm going to commit to my Dungeons and Dragons or chessboard turn. So I'm committing to that here. I'll apply all transformations. I scaled it up and I moved it. That's location and scale. There. What that will do is now it is permanently in this spot, and my origin has gone back to the center of the world here. So by default, most things will rotate based on the origin. If you want your origin back to be in the middle, you can go to Object, Set Origin, Mass Surface, and then it'll go back to the middle. Another way to edit things, well, you know what, I'm not going to cover that right now. We've committed to our first chess or Dungeons and Dragons turn. So now I'm going to go into, say, edit mode. Think of edit mode like as you modifying, say, a pawn for chess or your Dungeons and Dragons mini. You can paint it, you can edit little tiny points that you can't edit in object mode. You can move it around, and when you move it, scale it, rotate it, this is equivalent to committing to your first move in object mode. This skips the part where you need to apply any translation, scaling, or rotation that you have done. And you can, of course, undo up to a certain point. So that's edit mode. Edit mode is I'm committing to this chess piece or Dungeons and Dragons turn, and I'm also gonna pose his arm up in victory because he's about to smite some goblin or something, which you can't do in object mode. Anyways, that's edit mode. Edit mode, you're probably going to be using sculpt mode if you're using ball jointed dolls or making a doll and you are a newbie or new-ish to 3D software. Sculpt mode is just a little more intuitive, and you don't have to worry about polygon count or anything unless you're going to be animating this. So that's half of everything that I know out the window. So I've got my sphere here, and you can go into sculpt mode. It will only go into sculpt mode on what you had selected before. And, you know, now you can edit it, and it's a bit more intuitive. You know, you click here and you drag it, and you know that's what's going to happen. Instead of having to mess around with other tools, like there's tweak, which will do that, or there's having to move it like this, or with the key, and then selecting individual points. You can just do it nice and smooth in sculpt mode. And that's mostly what you're going to be using. So I've got my base sphere here. I'm going to use my, well, you know what? I'll make an example of making this exact thing here. So here's my, whoops. See, I want to scale it up, but it's going to scale based on the origin, and I'm too lazy to fix that. So I'm just going to scale it in edit mode. And then it just scales right from my bounding box from the middle of itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to I'm clicking keyboard shortcut Shift D, or we can go to Object, Duplicate. See, and each object is a slightly different color because these are each individual objects just cloned from each other. And because I duplicated it from this middle one, I can reset it to go back to the original position if I wanted to. I don't care about that. So we're remaking this. What I'm going to do is I'll just shift click each sphere and join. You can probably do object join, Control J. Now, by default, it's going to keep all of the faces on the inside of this mesh, which is going to make a glorious mess. And Boolean operations are kind of a pain in the butt with Blender. So if you want to, you know, make this boy, you'll just go into Sculpt mode, and you can remesh it. Now, this voxel size, the smaller the number, the more polygons, the finer it's going to be. Don't go too hard too fast with the amount of polygons. It's easier to sculpt fewer than it is to sculpt like 6 million. And also your computer will cry about it. So let's do like 0.4. Excuse you. These are all one connect? Okay. There. See, 0.1, there's so many teeny tiny polygons. That puts it at like what? Statistics. Yeah, it's got 300,000 faces right now, which isn't a lot, but I mean, it's unnecessary. So I'll remesh it to like 0.5. There, that's a little better. And now you've got your other knee, so you can use metaballs, or you can use multiple objects, join them together, and remesh them to make it into one object. I would recommend remesh over Boolean operations. So let's see, and sculpt mode is just edit mode with different tools. It's like edit mode, but simpler. You have less control over like individual tiny points, unless you get really zoomed in. It's kind of like edit mode. Anyway, so here's sculpt mode. You got your nice handy dandy tools here. You can smooth it with this smooth tool, or you can hold shift with any tool, and that will also smooth. That's your keyboard shortcut for smooth. Now, if you're editing something and you want it to be symmetrical, up here, it should be the x-axis. If it's like a different axis, your object is maybe facing straight this way, which if it is, I would strongly recommend going into object mode and rotating it instead of from being like this way. Just rotate it, press R to rotate, press the Z key, this locks it on the Z axis, and then you can type 90. And that will rotate it exactly 90 degrees. Or you can also manually rotate it. You can do it in edit mode, rotate it. Oh, see, this is why. If you have your mirror on, it's going to do like crazy stuff because it's mirroring on this axis. I can turn that off. And then I can rotate it and say put this on the x-axis. But we want the y-axis to be facing front back. This one is facing back. This is the negative y-axis. So this is the backwards part. Well, no, usually that's the front. It's whatever. View, viewpoint, front. Yeah, okay, negative y is the front. Positive y is the back. Anyway, I'll just put all that back. So you want your pieces and such to be pointing to negative y if you can, just because most modifiers and stuff, it's just the default. So, I forgot what I was doing. Anyways, let's say we're going to make this to a nice knee joint here. I'm going to use this one. And I want my mirror so that it smooths both sides. I'm going to exit this transparency mode so I don't see through it. I'm hiding this other sphere. I don't need it. I'm just going to edit these. La-di-da-di-da. Let me turn on my leg pieces here so I can see what I'm doing. I'm going to scooch that in object mode. Scooch it back a little. Go into edit mode. Rotate it. Put it about like that. We'll see how that goes. Nice. Scooched it in object mode, so or point of origins way over here. I'm going to apply to that. I'm going to commit to the turn that I made. And now it's just, this is where it lives permanently. So, usually 3 spheres is like a good base for a knee. At least I've only made 2 dolls before this, and that worked out well for me. And I personally like to add these little nubs, which I can do by adding a sphere and just you know, slapping it straight into this piece here. Make it go in there. Kind of object, apply, commit. And I can use a mirror modifier. This is your modifiers tab, this little wrench. This is extremely handy. I use it for a lot of things. And now I have, you know, 2 little nubs. And I'm just gonna duplicate those nubs. Whoops, that's not my nubs. With Shift D or Object Duplicate. And I'm just gonna throw these down here at the bottom. You can also duplicate in edit mode and you won't have to join your pieces back. It's just the same thing. You would just Shift D in edit mode. And, you know, they're the same object, sphere 3. So, but because I didn't do that, I'm just going to join them. Control J. Now I've still got my double nubs here. And you can, I'm going to show you a Boolean modifier. I really recommend Remesh just because Booleans get buggy real fast. Union, because I want it to combine. I'm on this sphere. This is going to be my knee bean. I'm going to name it bean. Knee bean. And these are my nubs. I don't need that. So there's my knee bean. Here's my nubs. Don't need that. And so on my knee bean, if you want to use a Boolean, you can union it with a Boolean. You can just, you know, you can select the object, you could type nubs, or you can use this little dropper. And now I'm going to hide my nubs. And that adds them only in object mode. If I go into edit mode, it's not going to be there because you can only add modifiers in object mode. This is, again, you playing around with, do I want to commit to this or not yet? If you want to commit to it to be able to edit it in edit mode, you have to apply your modifier, which, you know, little gear or little wrench, little tiny arrow, apply. It is now permanently part of this object, and there's no undoing it unless I want to Control Z a whole bunch or suffer and resculpt it or something. There are many ways to fix it, but that's too complex. So this works if you need really clean edges, and you don't want it to have like 5 million polygons through Remesh. But you don't need to be that super precise unless you're doing like very mechanical joints, like say Fairyland, the way theirs are engineered. So here's my my bean, my knee bean, and this is, we're gonna pretend I'm using this knee. I already have one made, but I'm gonna use this as an example. So here's my knee bean. It's got some nubs, and obviously it needs a channel for the elastic to go through. But we're not going to do that yet. With our nice big blobby knee bean, before we do any cutting, I'll smooth it out a little here actually. But yeah, we're gonna perfect our little bean here. Again, I still have mirroring turned on. Let's see, this will be seen through the front, and it's a little anthro dude, so I don't want it to look like a kneecap. I just kind of want it to look like an actual bean. So I'm just gonna inflate. Inflate is one of my favorite tools, and I'm just gonna, you know, shift, smooth it out, inflate it so it looks more like a little bean. Smooth out those sides a little bit. There, look at that. Absolute bean. I'd even go as far to say it's a pretty good bean. So now that I've got this shape how I want it, I'm gonna save a lot. Save constantly, especially if you are using Boolean modifiers or Remesh. Anytime you're adding or changing a lot of polygons at once, it might get really angry and crash. So here's my knee bean. It's right where I want it. No, it's not. I'm gonna scooch it I'm moving it in object mode. This origin point is what, say, any mirror modifiers or this this symmetry thing is based on this origin point. So if I were to move it in edit mode, my origin will stay there because I'm committing to the moving this, and the origin is just going to be over here. And this, you know, I can still reset this this position here if I want dead center, or I can just object apply all transforms, and then that's going to move my origin, which means my symmetry isn't going to work. If you have done that and you don't want to have to like undo a bunch of stuff, again, you can select your object in object mode, go to object, set origin, and I would try center of mass or volume, and that'll put it center. And now you can use your mirror modifiers and your mirror tool up here again in sculpt mode and edit mode, despite the fact that this isn't dead center in the 3D world at the 0.00 axis point. I've added some notches. Oh, because this this leg is angled like this, like a bean would work for a more upright leg like this. But because it's rotated like this, its center of gravity, it's just leaning a little more this way, like, so it's gonna want to collapse. The elastic, the weight of the entire doll above it, everything from this leg up, will be weighing on this one joint here. So I need that puppy to be strong. And right now he's kind of sideways, and if you push him even a little, this whole guy is just gonna, and you know that's not great because then the legs won't stand up. They're gonna go into this sort of kneeling pose. So to kind of counteract that, I'm gonna like tripod this little guy in sculpt mode. I've got my channels here already, so I'm just gonna use that as reference. I like how these channels are. I can cut them bigger if I need to, but I'm going to make a little leggy here on this end to give it something like an extra nub to help it hold itself up and lock. This is the third revision of this knee joint, so this might not work, but this is based on two failures. And see, it's kind of crunchy. If I wanted to add a little more detail, I can turn on Dino Topo. Dino Topo is very similar to Remesh, but it's like only where you brush. See how dense that is? So Dino Topo, usually by default, it's 12, and this is camera based. So if I'm really close, it'll add. If I'm kind of close, it might stay the same. And if I zoom out, it's gonna kind of subtract and make it simpler. That's the default settings. I leave all of my stuff default. You can probably change that so that it isn't dependent on how far your camera is to the object. But I like having that flexibility because then I don't have to go up here and keep changing this number. So add some leg here. Let's see. It's gotta be like, it's probably gotta match this guy, so it's gotta go way out there. I'm gonna use this guy. It's like a stretchy grabber. Nope, this is the nice stretchy grabber, the spaghetti man. Oh, a Dino Top. I'm gonna turn that off. There, I'll use the polygons that are already there. I'm just gonna drag that little man over here. Smooth it out. Do this a little excessive? Probably, but I'm going to smooth it, and smoothing will flatten things out quite a bit. So here is my, let me check my leg here. Oh, that's very far forward. But you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna switch it. Just do it from here like this. And you put the spaghetti grabber. No, turn off Dino Topo again, because I undid, so it's like, oh, you want Dino Topo back on because you were using Dino Topo earlier. No, I do not want Dino Topo on. I'm gonna put a tiny little foot right here, right before this channel, just so this is gonna be like a lock, and it's gonna be hopefully enough of a leg and there's going to be cutout here, and it's just going to like sticking a stake in the ground and holding this entire little man up. It might be a little overkill, but I'd rather it be too sturdy than not sturdy enough, because nobody likes kicky or floppy ball jointed dolls. So now that I've got the profile done here, I've got to fix my front view. There, it's good enough. Now, do note that most of this middle piece, like all of this here, you're gonna chop. You're gonna chop out, and you're gonna chop out a little bit, like you're gonna, I'll go over this, but you're gonna chop out a little bit of a donut on the top as well, so that the string has somewhere to go when you're bending the knee. Because if it's just a sphere up here, you're not gonna have a very good time with posing. I said sphere, I meant a cylinder. If it's just the one hole right here, you know, most sculpts like to have, you know, at least, you know, a little bit of a, you know, like that. They go pull, and then, like this is how you would do elbows, and then this part, because the elbow only goes one way. The knee, I wanted to have a little bit of forward motion and a little bit of backward motion, so it would be more like this. With a big old channel down there for the elastic, you know. So I've got my funky little feet. I'm going to smooth it out a little bit more. Oh, yeah, I don't like how that looks there. And this is just going to be, you're going to just play around with tools. I'm using, I think this is the Draw Sharp tool. This one, I think even with Dino Topo, some tools will not add geometry or remove. Draw Sharp is one of them. I believe Crease, which is down here, will. Oh, maybe not. It doesn't look like that, but maybe. I might just have to put that way low. Okay, yeah, Crease adds it, just not too bad. It's, my zooming is being a little funky, so I'm going to click on this object, and I'm going to do View, Frame Selected. That way my camera will rotate and, you know, move based on this object as the very center viewpoint. It's just easier, and now I can zoom in real close and real far without it taking like an eternity, because it's locked like over here or something. But yes, inflate is kind of my go-to for adding geometry. Before I figured out that remesh was a thing, I would just drop the strength to 0, and then brush to add geometry wherever I needed it. And then I would put that back if I needed to, you know, actually inflate things. Again, this is like remesh, but tiny fine point remesh based on your brush and how close and far you are from your object. It's kind of getting hard to see with this X-ray mode on. It's a little crunchy. It's a little crunchy. That's okay. Doesn't have to be super hella smooth. There is a polygon limit for some software, slicer software for 3D printing. That's why you don't want to have like 6 million polygons. Like, some slicers will handle that fine. Some slicers will be like, what the hell? Excuse you? What is this nonsense? You know, it's like how some printers can't open a file that has a file name that's too long, God forbid. Imagine trying to make a little guy just carry 37 boulders of polygons. Like, anyway, there's my funky little whip. Let's see how this looks. Again, it's a little far forward. Not exactly where I want it, but you know what? Actually, that's gonna be great. So, well, we're gonna say, my bean. Here's my bean. My happy little knee bean. We're not gonna add any channels yet. And I'm going to, in object mode, I'm going to duplicate this little man. Oh goodness. Okay, object, duplicate, enter, there. That way it doesn't move it based on my cursor. Make sure it's L000, so it's in the exact same spot. Usually renaming it will change its color. There we go. Now we have a visual guide. Red bean is new knee bean. Green bean is my knee bean. So what we're doing with our new red bean here. Again, I added something. I'm just saving compulsively all the time. What we're going to do with this knee bean is we're going to inflate it just a little bit. And we're going to use this as our cutting object to cut out all of the space that this knee joint would need. That way, you know, it doesn't get stuck on like an edge. If you know, it just helps us make that range of movement. So, with my, you know what, I'm going to call it cutter bean. Cutter bean. Now he's blue. With my cutter bean, I'm going to go into edit mode. I'm turning on these so you can see all of my nonsense. So, in edit mode, I don't know how to do it other than a keyboard shortcut. You know, how you can scale. You can scale like this. But, you know, when I scale like that, shoving my knee bean through there, you know, it's like this end up here is a little further out than like right here. And I want it to be evenly scaled along the entire beam, just a little bit bigger. The only way I know how to do that is holding Alt-S. S is your scale key, and Alt makes it scale up or down based on the normals of your polygons. Now, polygon normals are basically, what direction your polygons are facing. Here's an example. See, I'll make these nice and long. This is how you can view your normals. It's in one of these. I always lose which one. Just had it. Where'd you go? There it is. See, these blue hairs. This is showing the way each polygon, each tiny little face is facing. All of these little triangles facing straight out. They should be. If they are not, and you can fix that, like if it's scaling a little weird and some polygons, some faces got inverted, which happens all the time, you can fix that. I'm gonna hide this again by resetting your normals in edit mode with your object selected. I think it's usually mesh normals. You're gonna recalculate, or I don't really use this, but you can also set from faces. I think that will, you know what, let's find out. See if it changes. Nope. Oh, whatever. I usually do recalculate from outside, but I know there are some cases where set from faces is probably the way to go, because, you know, whatever way the face is facing, it's gonna point straight out from there, and that's what you want. So let me hide these again. With my normals all fixed and dandy, I need to, now when you're scaling, it gets real snappy real fast, so I usually kind of zoom in, and I try and get it to go, oh, a little teensy weensy bit. There we go. Just enough to where I can see the outline of my big bean in my little bean. That's pretty good. You can probably even do it a little smaller, but I'd rather be a little too big. Because, especially if you're printing in resin, knee joints and elbow joints tend to shrink. Just some parts shrink. It's based on thickness of areas, and I don't know. I've never done resin 3D printing. I've hardly done normal 3D printing. I make my friend test print all of my stuff, because I don't have a printer. But here's my cutter bean. I'm going to hide my knee bean again. So here's my cutty boy. This is going to go, I'm going to use this for the thigh piece here. Again, I save all the time. Good habit. So, yeah. Well, do I want it to rotate from there? That's kind of far up there, isn't it? Might move this around a bit. Let me turn on my lower leg. Well, if I move the cutter bean, I have to move the knee bean, so I have to move them together. So I turn them both on, shift. I'm just going to scooch them down a little bit more. Rotate just a touch. There, because I kind of want these circles as the point of rotation. Like, it's hard to explain. I don't know enough about mechanics to explain it. Anyway, I'm going to apply my transforms. That's the new position for my guy. And here's my cutter bean. I always make a duplicate. So I'm going to name it Cutter Bean Backup. That way you just know which one is which here. And this is Cutter Bean. So here's my Cutter Bean. Now I want to rotate this like how the joint should rotate in this socket. And usually I will use the 3D cursor for that because it's hard to rotate, you know, it's based on the origin, but I can also just click over here with the 3D cursor and say rotate from this instead of the origin. So again, object mode, this is your 3D cursor. This takes a lot of getting used to, this funky little man, but it'll come in handy quite a bit for various things. So, right, once you move your 3D cursor, I'm moving it from the exact positive X view, which is like the left side, which means, and it's going to the surface of whatever it's touching, which in this case is the thigh. That's okay. I'm only going to be rotating it on the Y axis, and I'm always going to be rotating it while I'm at this view, or locking it by pressing a key while rotating. So once you've moved your 3D cursor to where you think it ought to go, where your sphere should rotate and be rather spherical while it rotates, just click up to this selecty boy, because it's super easy to accidentally click somewhere doing some other tool and you're like, oh, my 3D cursor moved and it's never going to be in the same exact spot as it was. So just do yourself a favor. Once you scooch this boy, click to some other tool ASAP. So I'm in object mode. I can rotate. Wait, where's my bean? Oh, I just can't see him. Hide. Oh, I'll hide this one. So here's my bean, and I'm in object mode. I'm going to rotate, but you know it's rotating from the origin. Up here, transform pivot point, 3D cursor. Now it will rotate only based on that. And you know, you can rotate like this. This will lock it to an axis, I'm sure. Yeah. I never really use this tool. I always just do a view and I use the shortcut key and just go. So here's my putter bean. This is exactly where I want it to be. This is where my knee bean is going to sit inside of the leg. So I'm going to leave this cutter bean where it is. And you know what? I'm going to save myself some trouble. Object, set origin, to 3D cursor. There. Now if I move this 3D cursor, I can just rotate based on the origin. I have a backup now of my rotation point. So here's my cutter bean. This is exactly where I want it. I'm going to duplicate it. Now I've got 2 cutter beans. And I'm going to rotate this. Is that how I want it to rotate? Let's see. Yeah, that's acceptable. Might scooch it down a little bit, but you know, we're just gonna do this. Yeah, I'm gonna scooch them little by little. Well, I gotta duplicate it again. I'm gonna rotate it again. Oh wait, no, I'm delete these. I'm doing the wrong spot. I'm rotating for this nib, this little nub. Not down here. I need to rotate for this boy. So again, I'm starting over. I'm going to duplicate. And I'm going to rotate. Yeah, I think that rotation point needs to move. I like when it rotates more on a sphere and less on a weird, you know, up here. I like for it to be very sphery. So we're just going to scooch that until it rotates. Maybe down lower. Because what I want is I want this little nib to go into the leg so that it has little locking points. Like that. But because I've got this channel so big, it won't get any points till like it's at a full-on kneel. So what I'm going to do Gosh dang it, I keep moving my 3D cursor. Like when it's very spherical, rotating here. Gotta imagine the very center of this sphere part, which I imagine would be here. I did add to the front, so good enough. Object set origin to 3D cursor. There. So, I've already applied this modifier. I'm just gonna scooch these, change this back from 3D cursor to bounding box center. What I'm doing here is I'm just gonna move the points that I made for my inner channel, and I use a very low poly cylinder for this purpose, because then I only have to click a few times and scooch things around to get them where I want them. You can double click if I can actually get one of these. Yeah, you can double click on a horizontal line. Frick it, I'm gonna... Oh, I'm on tweak, no wonder I'm suffering. I'm gonna hide these outside polygons by clicking them and pressing H, and now... Oh, it's triangulated, that's why it's not double clicking. I'm gonna select all, I'm hitting Alt-J. That just makes it as not triangulated as possible, and now this should be a little easier to select most of it at once by double clicking on the there's 1 point. Get up here. This might be a good idea to make your joints first and do all the channels last, is what I am slowly discovering here. And I'm gonna leave all this bullcrap of me being very slow in. You're going to want to watch this on like ×2 speed or skip around. I'm not like a professional YouTuber. I just record my screen, tell you how I do stuff, and call it a day. There. Skinny little channels. I'll probably widen them a bit, at least this way. Oops. Stop selecting vertical. I want the horizontal ones. I could probably be doing this in sculpt mode, but I can't come from a game 3D modeling kind of self-taught background, so I point modeling was my bread and butter for like 10 years. So sculpting is it's never been something I've had access to until about 2020. So there's my crappy little good enough fix for my channels, just so I have a little bit more room for these little teeth to be made. So now, back to what we were doing with my cutter beam, my duplicate cutter beam. I have my backup. I'm gonna double check this rotation point. I've got to change this back to 3D cursor. So the pivots based on my cursor. I can also change it to origin because I set the origin there, but I'm gonna do 3D cursor. And now I'm just gonna, and I'm gonna Shift D. And I'm not gonna move my mouse at all when I press Shift D, otherwise it's gonna move this all around, and I hate that. And I'm gonna Shift D, rotate. Shift D, rotate. And I'm kind of losing the teeth here. So what I might do is I might just kind of scooch it. I am not a professional. I just kind of bullcrap it until things kind of work. But let me see. Yeah, I feel like those would have enough of a angle for some grabbing. So now this is me essentially making a range of movement for my knees, only front and back right now. And if I want, I can see how far forward. That's not the right beam. Oh, yes, okay. We'll see how far forward I can put this comfortably. because it would be nice for him to be able to, you know, do a cute little sit, but I don't want this cutter to knock out all of the teeth I just made. So I'm going to scooch that back a little. And, you know what? We're going to make this tooth go into this little chunk right here. And we're just going to, well, I have to move it up. We're just going to see how that works. Oh, it's got to go way up. Ooh, I don't know if this is going to work. It's pretty drastic, but we're going to see. So, here's all my beans. This is essentially the range of movement that I wanted to have. I'm specifically using locks. If you're not using locks, you can just go ham. And then, you know, hot glue suede, pliver, so actual suede to give the joint some friction. So here are all of my beans. I'm going to shift. I'm holding to the shift key. I'm going to click each bean. And I'm going to join them. Now they are 1 mega bean. Oh, you know what? I need to add this knee bean too. Now we are 1 mega bean. So this is my mega bean cutter for the thigh. This is only for the thigh. I can't spell thigh right. There. Here's my mega bean. Again, you know, it's got all of these intersecting faces on the inside, which we don't like that. That printer no like. Printer very no like. So we want all of our stuff to be like hollow, no faces on the inside, just the outer shell, everything. I'm going to go back to sculpt mode. Oh, dynamic topology found. You know what? I'm gonna, oh, I did rotate a bunch of stuff, but you know what? I'm just gonna apply everything just in case. Apply all transforms. You live in this space. You are exactly how I want you. There. Now I'm gonna remesh this, and we'll put it like point. I think 0.5 is pretty good, right? I'm gonna go a little low, 0.4, 0.36. I don't like how it's grabbing there. You know what? I'm just gonna put it pretty low. We're gonna go try 0.2. My gosh, the amount of detail I want is like exact. So I'm just gonna put this sucker on heckin' high. All right, that's extremely dense. But I want all of my detail to stay specifically on these little blocks here. And now I can use Dino Topo to kind of reduce some of this while I'm smoothing it, because, oh my goodness, that's kind of laggy. You can see there's some little lumps. I'm just gonna, yeah, make sure you apply. Oh, wait, my symmetry is not symmetry on my thing, so I'm gonna go back to object mode. Object, set origin to the center, please. Thank you. Now I can go back, and now it should be perfect, happy symmetry. Yes, we love to see it. All right, I'm just gonna, well, first, I'm gonna do the thing that I did before I knew remesh was a thing, just because this is just how I function. Strength all the way to 0. And we're gonna put that at like 9, and I'm quite zoomed out, so it should turn rather crunchy. Oh yeah, a little too crunchy, actually. Go there, straight on the side. And I'm just going to smooth that out a little bit, get rid of some of this density. I should probably just be using a decimate modifier. But I'm going to show you the weird funky things that I've learned. These locky bits don't matter, because this side only affects the shin. So that can be crunchy as all heck. The only detail I really need... Well, that's a little too crunchy, maybe. That's a good level of crunch. There. And a 3D printer is never going to print like this extremely, like, to the millionth polygon precise. Just because, you know, a printer resolution only goes so high. Even a resin printer, I don't know if it can go like, you know, if I made this twice as dense, I don't think a resin printer could go that high. They already print on super teeny tiny layers, and you're gonna lose some resolution with your prints. So it doesn't need to be. That's why we don't like sending like 6 million polygon size files to clients or selling them, just because they're huge. It takes forever to download. Things like Etsy have a file size limit that's heckin' small. And some slicer software just can't read large amounts of polygons. I don't know any because I don't 3D print personally. I've touched slicer software maybe 3 times in my life. Okay, that's a blatant lie, but I don't use it very much. Okay. And I know some slicers. Some people have said this doesn't show up on my slicer. Like my Lala model that I made, my ball jointed doll, I gave it to my buddy to 3D print for me, and it was so dense that it wouldn't open. So he had to decimate it, which I think, I don't know what you would call that in ZBrush, but we're not doing ZBrush. We're Blender havers here. So here's my Mega Bean. I honestly probably should have just added in object mode. I probably should have just added a decimate modifier right here on collapse, and you can just put that shit to like 0.2, and bam. But I'll save that for the end. It doesn't matter if my cutter is obscenely high, because once everything's cut out and the joint is finished, I decimate and then export. Decimating is like the last thing I do. So here's my Mega Bean cutter. I'm talking a lot. Back to my thigh piece here. That's what we're cutting into. Oh, that looks... Oh, what did I do? That shouldn't be in there. Fix that. Smooth. Get back in line, you little dude. There. Crisis averted. Saving compulsively all the time, always. Anytime you are changing up a major step. Oh, see, I don't want this to cut in here, so I have to sculpt that out. Well, no, that's part of me wanting to make it make the leg be able to lay flat. So I'm going to sculpt more in, actually, so that it cuts out the entire little section here. There, and I'm just gonna smooth it out. You know, this green is what it's gonna cut, and I want my cut to look nice and smooth. You know, not like too out of the frickin' nowhere, weird, shapy shapes. And it has to at least match this, so that the, my funky lip can go sticky-outy. Okay, I do want a little bit of dino double. What's my scale at? I like some crunch, but not that much crunch. This was just me farting around making a beta knee, but I don't know. This might be iteration 6 if my other, well, iteration 5 if my other knee doesn't work. There, that looks smooth. No weird wickities there. That looks more like how a knee should go. And having this slight little will kind of lock it to where it can't, well, but then it can't do a cute little twist. I'm gonna inflate that a little bit. we'll see how this works. Everything is trial and error. I've just made a couple of things, so I have a little bit more experience, but if you talk to A-Lip Art, he knows what's up. He is quite good. His second doll he made was a freaking centaur, which is like insanity. I mean, mine was a deer, which is also kind of insanity, but I am extremely familiar with how both Zoom and Lutz centaurs are built, because I love those motherfuckers. Okay, now we're going to use this as our cutty boy. Oh, yeah, see, this still has a cutter on it. That's for this. Because its hip joint is just a sphere. It's like a big plastic bead with some crosses cut out of the top and bottom, and it works. So I'm just going to add a new modifier in object mode. Can I do this in object mode? I usually try to narrate when I'm switching between modes, but I just, it's so autopilot for me. It's one of the biggest learning curve things for Blender is remembering to switch modes and which mode does what. That's honestly the hardest part, other than learning how to spin and move the camera. And once you get all that down, you'll have muscle memory going so fast. Anyways, I'm gonna generate Boolean. This menu looks a little different in earlier versions of Blender. I honestly preferred the old way, but beggars can't be choosers, and this has some nice new bits in it that I like that I can't think of off of the top of my head. All right, here's my mega beam. So I'm adding a Boolean, and I want it to be different because I want it to cut out. Intersect would be, it only cuts out what is inside of mega beam. Union is, I will add mega beam to this thigh, and difference is, I will cut out the shape of mega beam from the thigh, and that's what we want. And my computer, the fans just went, because Boolean operations do be liking to stress it out. All right, that knee, or at least this channel, isn't perfectly centered, but okay, you know what? I'm gonna talk about editing while you have a live Boolean. If you want to move something in here while you have a Boolean, because live Booleans, you're not committing. This is the object mode of modifiers. You're not committing to this cutout right now. No difference, please God. I'm gonna turn this off so that it's not rendering. It's still there. It's just not rendering in my my viewport. That way it doesn't have to live update everything. And I'm just gonna view frame selected, please. View frame selected. There. Now I can zoom in. So we're gonna scooch. There's a point like right here. To edit mode, I'm gonna scooch that little dude a little bit to the right. I mean left. I don't know how straight this is. Oh my, oh, thank God. Why my eyes are holding it? Because I hid that. Ooh, no, I want you to be based on bounding box center, so you will go full flat. Yeah, this is a little jank. I probably was scaling it with my based on origin of something else, or based on my cursor, and it kind of made everything shift this way. There. Now I do need to make sure elastic can fit through here. This is planned to be a USD size, which is about 25 centimeters tall. You know what? I can measure. There's a measuring tool. In object mode, it'll right here. Right now it's in meters because Blender units are weird. And, you know, to convert meters to millimeters, So what? This is like what? You just moved the decimal point over like twice, right? How many meters is that? 37.2? Oops. That's a lot of millimeters because it's huge shit. Everything is either 10 times or 100 times bigger when I import it into Blender just because of weird scaly whaley shit. I think you can change that up here. It's like 0.001. I don't like that. We're gonna put that back. If it's too skinny, I'll just make it bigger. Put my grid back how it was. Thank you. I'm gonna turn on my Booleans again. There's a handy way. There's a nice like 5-minute YouTube video about setting up Blender for 3D printing, which I really recommend if that's all you're going to be doing in your Blender. Maybe I'll just make a Blender project that is 3D printing and it's got like a cube. But and that'll fix all of your weird scaly bull crap. Anyway, here's my knee, at least for the thigh. I like to leave these as live Booleans. Like, so at most, I will, say duplicate this, which is going to make my computer chug. Oh, yep, just a little bit. Mods applied. And then I will apply these on like a separate one. And then I can tweak further from there, like if I want to label this the left leg, because this is the left leg, and then I'll have to mirror it and label that one as the right leg. So I think that's good. Double check that knee movement here on my mega cutter. And I'm gonna bust out the thigh. I mean, the shin, the lower leg. Lower leg, where are you? There you are. You know what? Hide. I'm going to apply all of these modifiers real quick. Oh, there's only one. Okay. And I'm gonna unhide my bean. Where's my bean? Where's my OG bean? Where'd he go? Oh, you know, it might be this nubs. No, that's the nubs. Where's my bean? My bean loved. Did I delete my bean? Well, gosh darn it. Alright, where's my backup bean? Where's any of my beans? Where's my beans? Upper knee cutter. Good bean. Oh, this is the cutter though. It's my actual bean. Fine. I lost my original bean. So I'm just gonna. Wait, no, that's the wrong knee. That's my other knee. Where's my cutter bean here? I'm just gonna remake my bean from my cutter bean. And I'm just gonna do the reverse. I'm gonna scale it with Alt S. Make it tiny. Just a little bit tinier. And we'll see if that made any of the faces real crunchy. Oh yeah, it did. Oof. See, this is make the origin back to the middle. Dino topo, because I know I'm gonna need it. All right, we're gonna add some geometry here. Oh. Well, you know what? How far back can I go? Not far back enough to get my nubs. But you know what? I can add my nubs back from another file. Assuming I have them in V5, which I believe is what I started this in. This is why I like to save little increments. Yes, my nubs! Oh, you know what? My heckin' knee beans in here. Crisis averted. Ooh, but the placement is wrong. Oh well, that's not too big of a deal. I'll just tell it to snap to faces. See how that goes. Not good. Okay, I'm not gonna snap to faces. I'm just gonna teach it. Ooh, you know what? Ooh, you know what? Object set origin to mass. Object set origin to center mass. And we're gonna try snap selection. Okay, fine. If I can't do the selection, I can do it with my 3D cursor. Snap. Wait, I need it. Okay, select this. Select this. Now this. Now this. Snap. Cursor. I want cursor to selected? Yes. Now it's in the middle. And now my knee bean that I scavenged from my old file. I can now snap selection to cursor. Ah, it's a little rotated though, but that's okay. The middles are the same, at least for the most part. It ain't perfect, but it's better than nothing. There. I have saved myself some trouble. Re-added my knee bean back. I'm not going to delete it. I'm sorry I did that to you. There. Alright, so I've got this knee bean. Well, I'm not done with cutting the lower leg. I'll do that really fast, and then I'll show you how to cut the channels for this elastic. So here's my knee bean. I'm not going to kill it this time. In fact, I'm going to make a nice little collection of just my new beans. The beans. There. That way, I don't accidentally delete it if it's out here. Knee bean needs to be in there too. Okay, there's my beans. Hide. Alright, knee bean cutter. Yeah, this is the one that I tried to scale, and it's crunchy as frick, so here's my knee bean backup. I'm going to duplicate that knee bean backup again. But this time, we're going to do it for the lower leg, which I believe I applied the modifiers to this one. I didn't. I know I modified. Oh, this one. No, I didn't. Which one of these has the modifiers applied? This one. I'm going to put this in the beans folder. Yeah, it's going in the beans folder too, because these are the beans. These other ones I was going to cut with this other cutter. My other knee design. My third knee design. This is my fourth now. Right. So here's my lower leg with the modifiers applied, which means this channel is now permanent. I've committed to that. And now I'm going to do this all over again. I'm going to, on my new cutter bean, my duplicate of the backup. So this is going to be cutter bean Shin Godzilla. And I'm going to rotate based on 3D cursor in object mode. we're gonna see. Oh, that's almost perfectly roundy do. Ooh, I can't go too far back on this because it's gonna poke out. So mostly, this is mostly the direction we need the movement in anyways. Let's try over here. Mega beam. No. With mega beam in it. Let's see how this. Yeah, okay, I think that's a good rotation point here. Get off of my 3D cursor and change my origin to 3D cursor so that now I can rotate based on origin if I screw up my cursor. Now I'm going to do all this again. I'm going to duplicate and rotate. This time I'm going based either on, I'm probably going to, well, no, it's going to be based on this. This is mostly just to hold up, but if I cut it like that, then it cuts out the entire holy uppy part, so I can't do it from that. I can't do that kind of rotation. I have to do, I either need to change the rotation point or adjust my bean. I keep moving my cursor. All right, I'm gonna adjust my knee bean. If I can select it, I locked it so that I can't select it. All right, knee bean. Lower leg edit. So we're just gonna rotate. Let's see. So it goes to that line, and if I pull this all the way over here, I just have to limit the rotation. I might not be able to make it go that level of crouch, or I'll have to shift the curve. Okay, I'm not gonna edit this thing. I'm just gonna keep going with this. I'm gonna scooch it. Normally I try to make it all work. Whoops, off of one rotation pivot, but I'm gonna have to scooch it up and down because, like, if this is going to cut off my little nub, and I need that nub for this so that the foot, so hopefully this knee will hold up the rest of the upper body. This is the entire reason I'm revising the knee, so I have to scooch this up. Oof. That's gonna get too narrow there. Yeah, that last one can't exist. There. These are snappy points. I could possibly make that just an extra channel instead of like with these wedges. I could probably just make it go, and that might help, but I'm not gonna overthink it. I'm gonna test it before I go too ham. So I need to scooch this last one a little bit. We're just gonna move it right there. It has a, there. I only have 3 cutters. This is a backup. And now I'm gonna join those. Shift click, join, Control J. Still in object mode. Gonna go to sculpt mode. Ooh, dynamic topology found. I'm just gonna apply everything. And then set the origin again. origin to center of mass. Back to sculpt mode. Now it doesn't give me that warning. I don't know what that warning means. I don't know if applying everything fixed the warning. I have no idea. We're gonna go 0.1 because that's what the other one had to be on, remesh. Now I've got my second mega bean. So I'm gonna hide this. And now we're gonna I'm gonna take some of that geometry out. I'd like to turn on the mesh wireframe. There we go. Oh god, it's just so dense, it's solid. That's horrifying. Oh, it's almost 1,000,000 tries. That'll do it. Yeah, we're gonna nuke that. I mean, I probably could run a decimate, but I still want to smooth out these little lumpy bits right here. So I'm just gonna manually do my own Dino Topo decimation, because then I have more control over what areas have high detail and what areas have low detail. There. Oh, these are the top parts. I don't think I need to worry about those. They're good enough. Ooh, that's real crunchy right there. A little too much crunch. When did I accidentally click down there? There it is. Whoops. My brush is bigger than I anticipate. Oh, it's because I have radius isn't pressure sensitive, so of course I'm. This isn't even gonna matter. Alright, good enough. Nice and low so I can just smooth. Nice, easy, smooth. There, I'll turn on my... I don't really need the thigh, I just need the lower leg. Ugh. I don't like this. Well, if it's gonna be slightly jank or cut out, it's gotta be even, so at least I want it to be even. Raise the density a little bit, add strength, and we're gonna... It's gonna be jank, it's gonna be evenly jank. I'd rather smooth it out with the cutter than have to attempt smoothing out once it's cut, because that is a pain in the butt. I want it to look nice and nice. And it's okay if there's an extra bit of room in here with these joints. I do tend to make joints too tight at times. Alright, that's good enough. I've made it a little bit more even. It's still not great. Maybe this will give it some extra ability to kind of twist. I just want it to look visually nicer. I mean, it's not too late for me to just move the lower leg. I might just do that. Is that the right tile? Yes. So I'll just move this leg. Doesn't have to be super perfect because I've got most of it already done. The only parts that need to be perfect are the parts that I'm actively working on. Some density so it's less crunchy. That's vertex paint. That's not what I want. Shush. I want it to be quite fine. It's a little excessive, but that will give us a bit of a smoother result. It's fine if I'm adding to it. I just can't take away. Otherwise it won't fit. It's a little jank, but well, let me see. It can't sticky out its leggy real far if I do it like that, can it? Yeah, I won't be able to kick its leg very far back. Yeah, I need to add another bean. Need the sheen back up. Back up. Need the sheen back up. Oh yeah, there we go. Hide the thigh. And my other mega bean. That's a little... It's a little close there. Show me my cutter bean again. That is not the right one, is it? Oh, yeah, that is. Okay. Mega bean. Back up. We're just gonna scooch that back a little bit, rotate it back a little bit. Oh. Okay. Here's my lock. It's gonna stick out a little bit, but that will lock it to this pose if I want it to go theoretically tippy-toey. Ooh, no, I can't rotate that. Ooh, please. That's my live Boolean one. Where's my thigh piece? Is it this one? Yeah. Get down here. You belong in the beans folder. I'm just gonna rotate it on this point here, like that. No. We're gonna see now. I'm just gonna scoochy this. I'm gonna apply everything just so I can put it back. Origin to center of mass. And we're just going to pretend that it is going to go into that slot like so. It does fit. And it will have a bit of an ugly lock. Maybe I could take this whole knee and go just make it all smooth instead of having this nub out. I'll have to see. Let me see my little beans here. I should have labeled my mega bean cutter. Or I have backups of backups, and now I'm getting confused. Where's my mega bean? Shin mega bean. No, if I make this smooth, then it can't do this. It can't lock here. I can't do that. It has to be this ugly, sticky outy peg unless I redesign, which I'll do my other one after this and see how it goes. But anyway, I'm going to hide those, and I'm just going to add these two beans to the mega bean. Let's have to remesh it again. Ugh. You know what? You know what? I don't want to deal with that again. I'm going to try a Boolean. Mega bean. Oh boy. Okay. I'm going to add another. Here. Come on. This bean. Ooh, good job. Thank you. We're gonna apply. That better be hollow. Looks hollow. Okay. I'm gonna apply. Okay, that was the cutter beam. Okay. Just lower because I didn't decimate it. I mean, I didn't do the stuff that makes it remesh. I didn't do remesh. Set this back to 0. I'm gonna smooth this out. Ooh, that's too dense. Put that up to like 9. Yeah, there you go. Gonna take some of that out and smooth it. Add a little bit of strength so that it can raise up a smidgy. And here I need to smooth it out overall. Okay. As long as that adds, okay, as long as it adds. I don't want it to go smaller, I want it as long as it's bigger, it's fine. Yeah, I like to try and make this straight. This, well, straight as possible. Straight up and down, but also wide enough for everything. That way it doesn't like catch on these little ridges here from the sides, and hopefully you can do a little bit of twist. The last version I had, the locks were softer and it just wasn't enough to hold it up. Otherwise it will just have to swivel at the thigh, which is how it's designed anyway. You don't really need to swivel at the quote knee if it were a human. Alright, there's my mega bean for the shin. I don't know why I bothered smoothing these out. It doesn't need to be smooth up here. It's only going to apply down here. Where's my shin? Where's my lower leg? Lower leg. Do a Boolean. Hide. Not that. Hide the. Alright, that looks okay. It's a little. I think it's okay. Okay, so we got some locky bits here. A little not great there, but I'd rather it be usable than pretty. So save. I'm gonna call this leg live Boolean. I'm gonna duplicate it. Oh boy. Okay. And mods applied. I'm gonna apply that. And now we're gonna make a new collection. New collection. And it's gonna be called Final Leggies. So here's that. And this. And my knee bean. Oh my goodness, that is quite a gap. That might be too much movement. It might collapse on itself again. Yeah, this might. Oh, my knee bean is in the right place. It's concerning. You're in the right place, right? You're in this. Nope. Okay. I'm gonna move this and this. All of these together. Ooh, I've gotta move the live Boolean one too. And if I'm moving all of the shin pieces, all of them gotta move. Okay. We're just getting scoochy. Oh god. Oh, it's so lag. Well, the easiest solution would be to just move the thigh. I already have this. Well, I got, okay, the modifiers applied. Okay, I can just move the thigh. I like to have it all so that if you import it, it all fits super nice and perfect. All right. Alt B, I'm going to use this to cut it in half so I can see what it's doing here. I'm going to hide all these beans. My knee bean is still poking through. Where's my gosh dang knee bean go? Does it go here? Why are you sticking through like that? You shouldn't be. You shouldn't bean. This knee bean should be thinner than my cutter bean. Let's find out before I start moving everything around. Okay, I'm doing a lot. Okay, back to applying this modifier. Okay, we're gonna pin that bean again. I'm gonna import sure. Nope, that knee bean is the same size as the cutter bean. That's what my problem is. Oh, might have it on the version 4. Before. Nope. I lost my original knee. That sucks. Okay. We're gonna do... Oh, by the way, you can't remesh when you have Dino Topo on. Okay, we're gonna try scaling this down. With the higher density, so maybe it won't go as crunchy down in there. Okay. It's not the best, but it's doable. I think that's acceptable. Got nubs. Now I'm gonna double check my knee bean cutter. Hey? No, my knee bean is the right size. Hey? Yeah, there's a difference between my cutter and my knee. That should be correct. So I don't need this duplicated. That's even smaller than necessary. Okay. We're just gonna say, why you do that? We're gonna do this. I'll cut it here so I can see what's happening. Yeah, it's definitely sticking out. How's it supposed to go? Or what's its default resting pose? That. Might be too tight. Oh gosh. I'm going to do that again. Just this part. Hide the knee. Hide the lower leg. Just gonna make it a little wider. Just to be safe. Oh. Okay, as long as my... Oh, I'm doing it from the back, so I need to actually make it, quote, smaller. But yeah, there we go. Strengthen that, thank you. Rather be a little too wide. Okay. This might have the bonus of making it look less jagged and ugly anyway, so. add a little bit of space to this too, just in case. It's probably fine. Okay. Let's turn that knee beam back on. And start scooching. This is the default pose. Looks like it's still too big. Is this the default? Ain't no way. It's gotta be. No. How did this get so off-center? We're gonna bring in these and see what the frick happened with the leg here. I didn't want to bring in the ball cutter, but that's okay. Objects at origin, to center of mass. The cursor is set to snap. Cursor active. Snap. Selection to cursor. Ooh, the whole thigh looks. How did this happen? Let me apply this modifier. Oh, okay, the whole leg is higher. Wait, need to move in this one. There, that's a little better. That should be closer to how it was. Needs a little more Z fighting though for me to be happy with it. There we go. Let me open that Z fighting, please. Alright, there's my Z fighting that I want, and I'm gonna hide that one. Let's see how it fits now. It's still sticking out? What did I do? Clearly the knee beam got scooched a bit somewhere. Alright, it looks like it'll fit. Let me double check that because I don't want it to be too tight. Okay, there's plenty of room for it to wiggle back like this. So I'm gonna hope that I didn't royally mess it up and call that relatively done. So now to add a channel, I usually just do a cylinder. And I tap into edit mode and I stretch it on the Z-axis real long. Please based on box center. Okay. And then I will use this loop cut tool, add a couple of, like 3. And I'll just scooch it around. Might make it a little bigger. Oh, why is that? Oh, right. I've got the I need to exit box view. Alright, I'm just gonna work on it from the profile first. These, see how it looks from up front. Oh, it looks like a good width. Could probably stand to be a little wider. Alt S, scale it up just a smidge. I don't want it too wide because I don't want to like make it the walls too thin. But I think that's pretty good. And I like to add a subdivision. And if I'm lazy, I'll just use this and add another loop at the end. You can also select the edges. Go to edge, crease, and then just type in 1. And that'll make it straight without you having to add an extra loop here. Alright, so now I'm going to add Boolean to cut out my channel. Quite a big hole for elastic. And now I'm going to add a mesh. It's going to be a torus. And I want it larger. Big. And that minor radius larger. Big, but not too big. Add an extra piece there. That's a good amount. There's probably a better way to do this, but this is the easiest way for me personally to I'm selecting these in edit mode with this edge tool. You can also just use the points, and I'm deleting them. Delete vertices. Delete those vertices too. And these ones. Until it's flat and there's no dip. There. This is how I make a little torus cutter. I just use the donut and I fill it in. I press E, or you can do probably face grid fill or extrude. Extrude is great. And then you can press S to scale it down. And then you can it's vertex edge. I don't know how to join. I know it's M merge. That's there. Trying to show you the more than just the keyboard shortcuts. Edge, extrude. I'm just gonna press S and scale it down just so that it's flat. Then I'm gonna mesh, merge at center. Here's my little disc of a cutter. Might give it some subdivision and apply it so it's nice and smooth. I'm gonna rotate it 90 degrees. I'm on any of my Y mode viewpoints, pressing the R key, and then I'm gonna type 90. You can also, you know, use this rotator thing. By the way, I didn't mention this, and it's very important. When you add an object, it will add it to wherever your 3D cursor is. So, it happened to add it right here in the nice little middle part, so I don't have to worry about that. It's a little thick, though. So scale it down. Scale it up, and then I'll scale it on the x-axis. So you can do this like this. Sound effects optional. And I usually go like this. And then I'll duplicate it while in edit mode still. Add it again. I want it to be able to bend its knees pretty far back, so it needs to have the channels cut pretty low. This is how I make my the little bendy part of the everything. This doesn't look center. There's a hole on. Oh wait, no, never mind. That's fine. All right. I'm gonna call this disc cutter for knee bean. I'm just gonna add it to the beans. This is all stuff that I've made for this absolutely glorious, fantastic, wonderful, incredible tutorial. And now I'm gonna add. I selected my knee object in object mode. I'm going down here to the modifiers, and then I'm adding the modifier, adding a Boolean, and it's gonna be difference. I'm gonna select my disk. Once that's in there, I will now hide my disk. You can select things in object mode and press H to hide them, or you can just hide them in here. And that is how usually I would cut the knees. That's a little wide, but it doesn't really need to be that wide. I don't think. It looks huge. I'm gonna try and edit it. SX. Oh, it do get real lag when you're editing something with a live Boolean though, because I've got to recalculate every time it scooches. There, we'll try that. That's a little nicer. So now the elastic should be able to go like chwop or chwop, and chwop, chwop, when it is bending. So just gonna duplicate the knee bean, and I'm gonna apply my modifiers on my duplicate, just so I have backups of the ones. And where's my finished? Oh, I'm just gonna create. It's gonna be finished beans, and this one goes in here, and lower legs, modifier applied, yeah, and thigh, modifier applied. That needs to go in there, and this needs to go in there. And those are the three pieces that make up my my leg. And hopefully this knee joint works. I might just send this one to my test printer instead of this one. Although this one is kind of nice, like, but it doesn't have the same level of grippy power that the other one does. I'll play around with this and we'll see how it does. But that about covers all of the knee making part. And hopefully, see, because here's my first knee. It looks very similar to the one I had, but it had a nice range of movement down here. But the thing is, it needed something to stand it up, like a tripod here, so that it wouldn't just collapse, because the elastic tension and the weight of the doll itself would pull everything down, and this knee would rotate and just crouch. It would go to crouch because there's nothing to hold it up, and the locks were very soft. You can't really see anything because this is just like a remeshed blob of it all. So everything is joined together. Just for scaling it in slicer software to get the right height. But that should be it. Thank you for suffering through my rambly little video. Hopefully this works. There's a lot of... Well, no, that looks much better, actually, because there's not a lot of negative space compared to this other one that I had. I think with it more filled up, it has a lot more to hold it up. This should definitely be an improvement. Yeah, this will absolutely be at least a mild improvement. Let me see how the rest of my... Oh, I think I deleted them. The beans. Let's see, it has a little less motion here, but that's okay. Oh, it's kind of hard to see the comparison. But my newer bean is much larger, hopefully more stable. Crouch is less crouchy, but I will take stability over mobility any day. As for exporting, I just select, go to File, Export, STL, and then on this far right side under the Include, a little submenu, I'll click Selection Only. And this will be thigh LV6. Now I have to make another Abbott version 3. Left leg. You will want to organize your, if you're doing a doll file, you'll want to have like some hierarchy. Otherwise, people will be overwhelmed. And that's not good. Eyes, ears, legs, arms. You'll want to nest them like the left arm, right arm. Just delete these because they're empty. Left leg. There. Thigh left. Version 6. This will be shin. Left. Version 6. And the left. 6. I didn't label them, but I'll do that in a new Blender thing just because it is so full of garbage. Sorry, my phone is blowing up. Go here, go to the legs, import all of these. See, it imports huge for some reason. Like, everything needs to be like times 100 or something. And now we'll just duplicate those. Go object mirror X global. I'll move these to right leg collection and left leg collection. And then to label my little pieces, I'll, select it in object mode, I'll go into sculpt mode, turn on Dino Topo, and I usually use the inflate. And I just set it to negative, set the strength up, turn off my pressure sensitivity, zoom right in, and zoom in some more. Dino Topo is at 12 by default, I'm going to change that to like 6 or 7. Zoom in nice and close, scale my thing down, I'm just going to L for left. I'm going to do it again. To the right. Turn on Dino Topo. R. There's also a text tool in Blender if you want to type it instead of like draw and write it. I just think this is honestly faster, and this is coming from someone who used the text tool. I'm gonna call this legs V6 final. The text tool, I think it's add text. Yeah, and there's your text layer down here. It's itty bitty. Scale it up so you can see it. And then you tab into edit mode, I think, and then you can type. Or is it here? Yeah. And you can do L. Well, let me type. L. Well, shoot. L. R. And then you can, I think under geometry, you can extrude. Yeah. And then when you're done, you can go back to object mode, convert that to a nice little mesh, and then you can use this to Boolean out your left and rights if you so please. Like generate Boolean difference. Bam. But I like to just write it in, and that pretty much covers everything for now. Sorry this is so long, I always get rambly. I even wrote down a thing of what to say, but it's just, I only have one monitor. I will stop now. Bye.